We are live on social media.
Let's see if mine has picked it up yet. There it is. Boom.
That is intense.
It's not really. You're giddy like a school child.
I am.
Healthy. Let's share it there.
And we are going live on the radio.
In a group. 2.
Welcome to Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp. Join Mary as she tickles your taste buds with her salty wit and her exceptional palate, all whilst guiding us through the land of low sodium living. Brought to you in part by the support of Reeses Barkery Pawtique. ReesesBarkery.com, 815-363-7297.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to final episode of this series, Series 6, How Has Food Impacted You? So this series, and of course, in the beginning of my show, I'm always sitting here trying to figure out what I'm doing, multitasking, because I can't do that. I wanted to have guests on that didn't necessarily, some of them had medical issues, but I wanted to show how much food impacts everybody in 8 million different ways. It's not always because you have a detrimental, life debilitating illness or disease or altering thing. There's a million reasons why food impacts everybody's lives. And, we've had Marty with Master Happiness and Dawn Reese with Epimony. I'm going to pronounce her thing wrong, and I'm a horrible person, with her book and vegan and plant-based diets and all of these different things. So now we have Kris Davia. Davia. What a tomato.
Exactly.
So, My Mighty Meals. So who are you and what is My Mighty Meals?
Yeah. So we're a prepared meals company, fully cooked, freshly prepared meals. We do a weekly menu, 5 different meals, 1 breakfast type item, and then 4 like lunch, dinner, entrees. Everything's well portioned that I'm sure we'll get into later.
I hate portions.
Yeah. Your basic proteins, fats, carbs, veggies, and it's just a convenience-based meal plan. So.
See, when you're talking about that many meals, my brain goes to, and I love to cook. And so many people hate me for it because they're like, you make it look so easy. And it is surprisingly easy.
Yeah.
But that just sounds absolutely exhausting to me because I've cooked when people ask me to help them and I tell them, you don't want my help. I'm an asshole. You don't want my help because I care, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I will cook you 7 days worth of meals. And I will show you and tell you what to do and what to watch for and help you. But inevitably, you're going to let me down because if you're not ready for it, and it's a huge change. If you're not ready for it,
Sure.
You're not going to do it. And you're inevitably going to text me and say, I'm so sorry. I cheated and I'm at Julianne's having ice cream. Or I don't care. Go ahead, cheat, do whatever you want. But your failures are your failures.
Sure.
They're not mine.
Yeah,
so then,
hate seeing all that food
right,
left in the fridge.
You're going to feel bad because you cheated because you weren't ready to make the change that you need to make to have the lifestyle that you want to have. So, when the reason why I say I'm an asshole is because people who ask me for help versus people who ask you for prepared meals, it's 2 different ends of the spectrum. People who ask me for help, it's because a doctor came to them and said, you're in renal failure, your kidney failure, your COPD, your heart is dying. Like if you don't make this change, you're going to go down a very, very dark path.
Sure.
So they don't have a choice. That means they didn't make the choice to want to be healthier. Usually people coming your direction for prepared meals, they're either just wanting prepared meals for prepared meals because they're lazy and don't want to make meals. Or they're on a gym membership type
healthy-minded people,
right?
For sure.
So they have a little bit more ambition to eat the food that you prepare them.
Yeah, I mean, I have a handful of people who are, I guess, restricted or on a dietary like path that they need to be on, and we can cater meals accordingly to them. But most of our clients are definitely healthy-minded. You have your fair share of like lazy people that just don't want to cook, and that's fine too. Like
exactly.
That's what I'm here for, and that's
That's always my thing is when I tell people about, finding whether it's, your type of meal prepared service or one of these larger, I forget any of the names of them, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a million different meal preparing services out there, and some of them will have these different dietary options, and there's some of them are really, really expensive. And I get it. Like not everybody, my happy place is in a kitchen. So my husband thinks I'm nuts because I'll work a 16-hour day and then come home and make a meal.
Yeah.
And spend 45 minutes in the kitchen.
Most people aren't like that.
And they're like, most people have done nothing all day long and had a Sunday that they didn't have to do anything. And they're still like, oh my God, making macaroni and cheese sounds awful.
Grocery shopping,
like,
dishes, all of that.
Right.
Yeah, that's not it. So I don't know. I mean, it really started super small, just like super organically, just helping a couple people out. And little by little, I went to gyms, went to corporate offices, and it caught on. And like, the way I advertise it is I'm cooking anyways. Like if you need meals for the week, that's great. If you don't,
and your food looks amazing.
Thank you.
Your food absolutely looks amazing.
Yeah. There's been a lot of trial and errors with that too, but I mean, it happens.
It's funny because, so my neighbor, she's amazing. She's a Pilates instructor.
Okay.
And it's hilarious because she turned her garage into a gym. So you look out my front door or down from my office and I can see her Pilates studio. And if she's during the summertime, she's got the door open.
Yeah.
I can actually hear her instructions. She has a YouTube channel. So
I
can from the comfort of my home, I can watch all of her stuff like secretly and I don't have to join the class.
Sure. Hey,
but
take advantage.
I feed her all the time.
Yeah.
So the joy of being my neighbor is I don't have any kids.
It's a good barter system. You should be able to do a class.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not paying her for the Pilates, so I feed her. But for Christmas, the plastic tubs that you have, for Christmas, she comes over and I'm looking at her going, come on, why did you get me a Christmas card? This is, don't do this stuff. It's just pisses me off because then I feel bad because I'm not going to get all my neighbors' Christmas presents. And she's like, I swear to God, it's not anything. She comes over with the big, huge, 40 pack of the black totes with the little clear lid from Sam's Club. Because she's like, you feed me all the time. And I feel bad because I forget to give the things back. Yeah. So it's kind of like a gift for you, but it's a gift for me because you're going to fill it with food and you're going to give it back to me.
Definitely. We go through a lot of those, unfortunately.
Right. So it was funny because I laughed the first time I saw, after being introduced to your program, Mighty Meals, I laugh because I'm like that. I should show you some of the pictures I have on my phone because I'll send her a picture and it's like, lemon almond risotto and 2 meatballs in one of those little tins. And it looks like a prepared meal service. Be like, do you need dinner tonight? She's like, hell yeah, I'll be over in 5 minutes. For the one day she just sent me a text message. Like, do you have chili? Sure. Come on over. I got a whole tub of it in my freezer. But I do like leftovers to do. I've seen your pictures.
There's a decent amount of prepping and portioning and planning that goes into that for sure. And like I said, it's grown over the years and I've just kind of exponentially grown with that.
I guess if you
grocery shopping, portioning, cooking has turned into a 3-ring circus really, but it gets done.
I'm kind of excited.
Chaos is what I like to call it. So, but yeah, there's just a whole lot of planning, master spreadsheets of numbers that you need for chicken and rice and all of that. And then everything gets tallied up and I know how much to cook and we just go to town. So.
Oh my God. See, because people have told me that I should sell my soup.
Okay.
I don't know why. I know why people have told me to sell my soup because I believe
I should be hiring you.
Right. No,
what it really comes
I already have 2 jobs. What do we do?
Jen Krejci says, do you have a radius around a certain location?
Yeah.
Do clients come and pick up meals or are they delivered?
Yep. So that's a great question.
And yes, all of the above.
Of those, yeah. So I have a couple pickup locations. My kitchen is based in Lake Zurich. So
Lake Zurich, Illinois. I don't know where she's at. Yes, Lake Zurich, Illinois.
And it's primarily Chicagoland. Illinois. And we deliver every Monday night and Tuesday throughout the day. So there is options for refrigerated delivery, or like I said, there's pickup places throughout the city because that's where I originally started. So we have those too.
I'm going to teach you how to make low sodium, so then you can just start cooking for me.
That's an option too. Yeah. Instead of me hiring you, I cook for you. That's fine.
Right.
We can do that. And like I said, we have those options. I don't necessarily track sodium specifically on the label, but
Nobody does.
do. Yeah, we do. All
not even the people who need to like Coach over here. Not all of the people who need to check their sodium even track their sodium.
There's no sodium. If it doesn't say it on the label, it's not in it.
That's one way to go about it.
Sure. If it says it on Facebook, it's true, right?
Oh,
That's right. Jen goes on to say, I was never taught how to cook, what was healthy, how to shop for the family meals, etc. It's so overwhelming, and I ended up defaulting to quick frozen dinners from the store.
Yeah. Talk about sodium. I mean, those things are loaded in preservatives
not only are they loaded with sodiums, a lot of times they're loaded with fake sodiums. I shouldn't say fake, substitute sodiums.
Sure.
So there is a huge difference between sodium chloride and potassium chloride and how it affects your body, especially if you're on any medication on the planet. And then, like you said, preservatives and additives and emulsifiers. And not that all of those things are bad. Like guar gum is not a bad thing. And it's used a lot in a lot of different ways. And it's a natural product. But the problem is when you have all of these fillers and preservatives, it's called a filler for a reason. If you're filling your body with one thing, then you're neglecting the needs. And we've talked about this before, where the food that you consume is literally the instructions that your body needs to run at an optimal level.
Those are some old pictures.
See, you need to update your website,
Yes,
and then you wouldn't have them scrolling across our global webpage.
Yeah, anyways.
So that's always my argument is when you pay attention to what you need and add the things that you're supposed to have, you eat less of the things that you're not supposed to have. So it doesn't mean that you can't have ice cream, you can't have pizza, you can't have the things that you enjoy having. But if you're filling your body with the things that you're needing for optimal performance, regardless of what your body does or what your goal is. I'm not going to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I despise working out. I am like a 4-year-old. And in my defense, my muscles build up more lactic acid than most people. So if I walked up and down the stairs outside the studio 3 times,
a lot more sore.
My muscles would burn as if you just rode a bike for 10 miles.
Sure.
So that's why, and I didn't know that until I was older. And that's why I've always hated exercising, because it was physically painful for me very, very early on in the workout, which I didn't understand. But, it is extremely overwhelming when you don't know food. It's like throwing somebody who's never been in the military into a war and saying, figure it out.
Sure. Yeah. And that I was lucky. I started doing this really because I was prepping for a bodybuilding show. And I had an amazing coach who taught me portioning and macro counting and all of that stuff, and how to enjoy the food that you want to eat and still be healthy.
And it can taste good.
Healthy and taste good. Yeah. So, but yeah, there was a lot of trial and error with that. So I never was officially taught how to cook either. So plenty of burnt chicken breasts and whatever, overcooked rice and all of that. So I feel your pain. But yeah, that's why we're here. We can totally help with any of that. And portioning, everything's measured out and all of that. So most of the meals you'll find that you eat it and you are full to the point because you're eating what you should be and not the fillers that you're talking about.
Right.
So
yeah. And that's, when people don't realize, if you snack on grapes and you think, okay, so I had a snack and you had a few grapes. If you actually look at a serving size of grapes, it's extremely filling. If you actually ate what you're supposed to
100%.
eat, it's the same with lettuce. And I always laugh because the first time I paid attention to it, I was making chicken Florentine, which is, chicken with pasta and spinach and sun-dried tomatoes. So I bought this big tub of spinach at the grocery store and it says 3 servings.
Yeah. You can eat.
So I'm like, wait a minute. If I'm going to eat a salad out of this, you're telling me I got to eat a third of this big giant 3-foot long tub?
Yeah, and you'll be full.
Right.
You know, so like you won't go back to snacking or
Right.
like eating something that you.
Yet if
don't
I
need.
want salsa, I get 2 tablespoons and 13 tortilla chips. So I get 2 tortilla chips worth of salsa
100%. Yeah.
and 11 plain tortilla. Like this, just it pisses.
So that's a prime example. Like when I was competing or counting calories down to the whatever penny,
right?
Like I would roast broccoli off, and I would have broccoli with salsa instead of chips because like it still worked and it was still filling and it still tasted good, but I wasn't getting the calories
right.
I wasn't supposed to have. So.
You know, speaking of broccoli, as I've had to change my lifestyle and change my diet, eliminating added salt changed my palate. So now I can actually taste the difference in foods. And broccoli has become much more sweeter to me.
Interesting.
No one said ever.
See, I'm telling you. And everybody's palate changes differently. And everybody has, bitter or sour palates and so on and so forth. But now lately, I've discovered that I actually very much enjoy eggs and broccoli.
Okay.
So like in the morning for breakfast, I didn't have any potatoes. And because I have to watch my nutritional levels very, very closely, because your liver regulates everything. So when you're in liver failure, I'm not in liver failure. I have liver disease and I have advanced liver disease. It doesn't process things quickly. So the more balanced I put things in, the less my liver has to do to convert and do things that my body needs.
Totally.
So broccoli is one of those things that is just very nutrient dense.
Yeah.
In the types of things like potassium and magnesium and what I call everybody calls dietary sodium.
Okay.
So what's already in an item. So if I eat, like beets are high in sodium carrots, celery, they're high in sodium
Just
for
naturally.
what they are.
Yeah.
Pull it out of the ground and they're naturally high in sodium.
Yeah.
And it will throw off my calculations because it's high in sodium, but it doesn't affect me. I don't have the water retention because it's nutritionally balanced.
Sure.
The glucose and fructose and potassium, magnesium, manganese, all of these things that are in there
that your body really needs.
Right. Has evolved over generations to digest those things together. So broccoli is one of those things where the more I add it into my diet, the more it balances out certain things, the less muscle cramps I get and stuff like that. So
do you load like meals throughout the day, or do you have it spread out where your intake is?
I honestly, I eat a very big meal at dinner. I eat breakfast every single day because if I don't, I will fade very fast.
Yeah, I preach breakfast is important for sure.
And I get it. Not everybody argues with me that I'm not a breakfast person.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, if you don't consume something, even if it's 5 or 6 grapes, like that's a small amount of food. So like this morning I had a banana. I didn't feel like eating. I wasn't hungry, whatever reason. And if I don't have that, because of the way that my body processes things, I will literally start to get dizzy and lightheaded and foggy and will crash.
So a normal day for you.
Yeah, right. Pretty much. The lethargy doesn't go away. Oh, did you find your button?
There it is.
There. We got sound effects, guys. We're high tech.
What I've gone to a lot lately, because I've been really trying to clean up my diet after hanging around and watching your show a number of times. I do a lot of sauteed onions and grapeseed oil.
Mm-hmm.
And like this morning, my granddaughter who lives with us came down, and my wife and I made sauteed the onions and everyone scrambled some eggs in it. Mm-hmm. No added spice or anything. And for me today, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
But a couple of years ago, it'd be like, oh, really?
Sure. Your palate evolves.
The plate or the food.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the big thing that I've always told people is, I had discussed this with a friend of mine who owned a restaurant, and without knowing it, he was doing exactly what adds flavor without adding salt. The Maillard reaction is it changes the structure of food when the brown is flavor. So when you grill a steak, grilled chicken, grilled vegetables, whatever it is, So if you want to add more flavor to like sauteed vegetables, if you can't get that browning because you're not a good cook, if you roast them in the oven, it serves the same purpose.
I was just going to, like, that is my number one go-to.
You throw it in the
100%.
oven. That brown, that Maillard reaction has its own inherent salty flavor.
Yeah.
Because it changes the protein structure of the food itself.
Sure.
So you can avoid having to add salt. And for those that are, and there are certain people who are just, for whatever reason, can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
They can't get rid of salt. They need that flavor. So if you cook in such a way that you don't have to add salt, and then you sprinkle a little bit of salt on top,
where you're measuring it.
Right. You get that flavor
Sure.
right off the bat. You get the punch, you get the seasoning without, because to add it in food, I use the soda reference. You don't think of how much sugar is in a can of soda because it's mixed in there, it's diluted, whatever. But it is. It's an insane, if you actually measured out a cup of sugar, right?
With the cups filled
Right.
with all the sugar and stuff. Yeah.
It's an insane amount of sugar.
It's 14 teaspoons in a Pepsi.
Yeah. That's so wild.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So if you thought, I'm going to put 14 teaspoons on my cereal in the morning, you'd be like, what? You drink
Just
that
pour
in every
Pepsi
can.
on it.
Right. Pour a Sprite. Eat your cereal
That
with
might be
Sprite.
a new meal.
There you go.
Pepsi and cereal.
What-
My mighty meals.
That's right.
Right. 14 teaspoons of sugar.
Cheerios.
But
with
we literally
Sprite.
we have people who order just roasted veggies because I think they need
Right. They
that.
might be veggie people or plant-based diet people or whatever. That's everybody.
Well, Jen said her palate changed after she had a baby.
Sure.
That will happen.
Suddenly
happens too.
liked tomatoes out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. So your body is it's just completely regulated by your hormones. And obviously pregnancy is a huge hormonal shift for a human being to handle. And with each subsequent child, a lot of times it changes again and again and again and again. And, men aren't immune to that either. They have their own set of hormonal changes. They're usually just not as extreme.
Sure.
So it's the same with me. And because your liver is it regulates all of your hormones, your insulin, everything. That is almost everything metabolizes through your
it plays
liver.
a huge role.
So that's where after my liver failure, it was a huge shift across the board and everything. And then once I stabilized, the funnest part for me was once my palate and my health stabilized, like I could taste the difference between a yellow potato and a white potato and a russet potato and a purple. Like, who knew? I've always loved potatoes. I'm Irish.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
any potato.
they all taste different.
Yeah.
They all serve different. Garlic, there's like 32 different kinds of garlic and they're all freaking amazing.
Yeah.
No,
we had one, it's actually this week, there was a pregnant lady who orders from us pretty consistently. And she's like, I cannot stand the smell of turkey. Like,
No.
Can you change turkey? I don't know where it came from or how it happened, but I need the turkey out of my meals. And I'm like, yeah, we'll substitute any sort of protein or whatever you need, like ground beef. We can do chicken. We can do whatever. So just let me know. And you got to make sure you still get your protein levels at least. So,
well, that's what when it comes to bodybuilders, I've always had, I shouldn't say just bodybuilders. A lot of people in the fitness world, because so many people watch calories and proteins and fats, they don't watch all of the other, they watch, but they don't watch. Now, the nice thing is if you're eating real food, you're going to do better.
Sure. Yeah,
across the board, it doesn't matter. If you're eating real food, you're going to do better.
And that's what I promote, I guess, as the most important part is like, it's all real food. So like you're not getting the preservatives or anything like that. And if you at least stick with it consistently, like you should see some improvement.
You should. Even if you're going out for ice cream every once in a
100%.
while or eating a pizza or going out to lunch with a friend, if you're on 80% of the time you're eating, and I always tell, when you go out to a restaurant, I always ask people to make a better decision.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't do this, but if you go, and people always think it's funny that almost always I order a burger.
Okay.
because the most processed thing on a burger is typically the bun.
Yeah.
I don't get ketchup because ketchup is just sugar and salt. I do like ketchup. I love ketchup. I have unsalted ketchup in my house.
No salt ketchup,
they never have it at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Early on, when I was really still pretty sick, I would bring my own condiments with me in my purse all the time, salad dressings and whatever.
When I'm competing, I do the same thing.
Right. So and people around me just knew and they didn't care.
Yeah.
But so I've actually learned that because it was the sugar in the ketchup that I was craving, not the ketchup itself, because usually people aren't just going to squish up a tomato and dip things in it.
True.
It's literally just sugar and salt outside of the tomato.
Yeah.
So I found that I actually like mustard more than anything else.
Okay.
Which is surprisingly healthy for you.
Yeah, it is. It's really good for you.
And it's surprisingly low in sodium on the most part.
Stacy says it's the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah.
But I have another question here for you,
All
Kris.
right, bring it on.
What is the discount for someone who has decided to place an order? From hearing you this morning, Jen says she's in Warrenville, Illinois. I'll have to check out your website and place an order for meals.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
Well, I was going to say we didn't talk about a discount. Well, we might have to discuss that afterwards.
Yeah, 100%.
And I just posted your
website
URL on the.
You might get an order from Singapore.
Hey, yeah, local-ish only. I try to reach as far as we can. But,
cost you $9,000.
Yeah, shipping to Singapore.
Will be a delivery order.
Yeah,
right.
So
that's hilarious.
But yeah, our meals are pretty well priced, I think, at the end of the day. We have 2 different size options where the pricing kind of comes in, and then we do customized stuff too. So in terms of like meal prep companies out there, I think we're pretty competitive. So.
I'm actually excited because I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I just don't have the time or the ambition to scale up because I've had a lot of people ask me, and when I make my soup, it makes whatever those tubs are, like the quart or whatever.
Yep,
the
16, 18 ounce.
The
whatever.
little,
yeah,
looks like the Chinese takeout for the sweet and sour sauce
Sure.
that you always get. But it makes 16 of those.
Okay.
And
see, you're well on your way.
And the funny thing is Kent once asked me, what's my cost? Like, what does it cost you to make one of these? I'm like, I know where you're going. I have a business background, and I know that the margin is there for soup.
Yeah.
Even healthy, good soup with the organic products or whatever good products from the farm that I make.
I've had your soup.
Right.
Your soup is phenomenal.
And that's the thing that I don't understand is you buy low sodium soup in the store. Part of it I know is because they use potassium chloride, which has a metallic taste to it.
Okay.
Not everybody can taste the metal, but I can.
Yeah.
But low sodium soup in the grocery store tastes like garbage. There's an aftertaste that you're like, what did you put in here? That it just doesn't. I don't understand why mine comes in better nutritionally than theirs, and theirs tastes. It's got this aftertaste that's just deplorable.
I mean, that you can sell home cooking, all of that good stuff. You can totally sell that. So.
But and I get it. The margins are there for my soup to be profitable, but I'm not. I enjoy cooking, not to the point. Maybe I would enjoy cooking like if I came to your kitchen and cooked with you and we're like, okay, now here's my recipe. Tag me in it and you have fun in it.
That's an option too. Yeah.
I'm not going to stand there and cook. And I mean, by the time I'm done ladling number 16, I'm out.
Sure. I mean, I totally feel that.
But then I give them all away in one day and they're all gone.
That brings up a good question, Kris. How many employees do you have? I'm sure you're not doing all of this yourself.
Yeah. So it started out, like I said, super small. And then it's grown now. It's not really that grown, but 3 employees, sometimes 4.
That's growth.
Yeah, depending on the week and how orders are looking. But primarily they help with prepping, portioning, all of that stuff, and then a little bit on the delivery side. But yeah, all the cooking is done within 2 days, and we just go to town. They're long days. Mm-hmm. So, but everybody wants their food in the beginning of the week, and that's just, I mean, I'm there to help. So we can definitely make
Do you have
that
a
happen.
snapshot of how big your client base is right now?
So on a given week, we range between like 80 and 90 orders. And there's, like I mentioned before, there's no memberships or subscriptions. So like it varies pretty widely depending on the week and who's around and who wants meals and who's not cooking for themselves that week. But on any given week, like we've been averaging between 800 and 900 meals. So like 10 meals a person. So
Very nice.
I dabbled in catering in a past life, and that just,
it's a lot of food.
so
It's
that's
a lot
what,
of planning.
when people talk about it and they like, Jen's saying that she doesn't like cooking and this, that, and the other, doesn't know how to cook. And I get it. And I get when I'm in the thick of it and I'm cooking, or if someone asks me to cater something, and it's been a while, but I have. And even the fact that when I made pasta salad for me and my husband, I'm not going to make pasta salad for the two of us.
Sure.
I'm going to cook the whole 1 pound box
yep.
of pasta, which fills my fridge with pasta
Yeah.
salad. So we're eating pasta salad for a week. So I get that it's easy to batch certain things up.
And that's what, I mean, it just took a lot of trial and error, realizing that some meals will take hours to do and some meals will take only a couple minutes.
Right.
So like
someone orders pasta salad, you're like, yes.
Yeah, you try to balance those out on the menu each week, so you have some long ones and some short ones, and you just take advantage where you can. And I think that, I mean, I never really enjoyed cooking, I guess, to a certain extent. Like, I wanted my food to taste good, and I knew that people like wanted good tasting food that actually was healthy for them.
Sure.
So like there was a market there, obviously, but I think a lot of it was more like the process improvement of it than anything. Like knowing how to get that 100 pounds of chicken into 300 containers and the best way you can and make it taste good still. So,
We are at the bottom of the hour, and it's time to remind everyone that we are brought to you through the financial support of Reeses Barkery and Pawtique. So if you also make meals for puppies and kitties and birds and whatever other animals come through Scott's store down here.
Interesting.
Reeses Bakery and Pawtique, right on Riverside Drive at 1313 Riverside. How do you get an address like that?
Yeah. He does. Drive. He's been in this community forever. That's how he gets it.
I'll have to remember that.
So if you've got a pup who likes to eat.
Yeah, my brother has a short-haired pointer that is an absolute maniac, and I always love bringing him treats and playing with him, so that's good to know.
So when it comes to the nutrient side of foods, and this is where I love, because the best compliment that I always get in my role is when people tell me that they start paying attention and reading labels. Because the hardest thing to do is when someone tells you got to stay on a 2,000 calorie diet, or you got to, eat so many grams of protein or whatever. And what I did very early on is I turned it into money, because if I tell you got to watch and have 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day, and you're going to say, okay, this is 110 milligrams and that's 90 milligrams. And I don't remember. And you're doing math in your head and you can't do it.
Yeah.
But if I say you've got $2,000 to spend today, start watching one thing. Once you get it down, you start watching other things.
Yep.
Because we all eat the same things on a regular basis. I mean, we add different things here and there, but it's the Taco Bell syndrome. It's the same 15 ingredients put in a different shell.
Whatever. There's no secret. Like, my meals are basically that.
Right.
That's just what it is. You mix the flavor profiles, you mix and match the ingredients, but everything really comes down to 20 ingredients at the end of the day.
So when you're grocery shopping for just yourself and making meals just for yourself, and your doctor says you have to watch your sugar, or you have to eat more protein, because the girl in my office, she's literally the size of a pencil. She's so tiny, and they keep saying you got to gain weight.
Yeah.
And I told her the same thing. Like, once you start watching and you pay attention to that one thing, ultimately the reason why I'm not on any medication with advanced cirrhosis is because I balance all of it. And I get it. Trust me, when I think about it, or when I talk to somebody and say that I need to watch my potassium and my magnesium, and that I need to eat more protein than most people, which means I have to have more carbs and more fat, but they got to be good fats. And I still can't eat too many of those, because then I run into fatty liver territory.
Sounds way overwhelming.
So, and then on the other side, I'm a girl. So as I get older, and get through premenopause and go into menopause and all of this other stuff, my hormones change on a monthly basis, which means I gained 10 pounds last week just because I'm a girl.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I could give two craps. I have a husband that loves me.
Sure.
Doesn't matter. I love my ice cream. Don't give a shit.
That's it.
But it's bad for my liver.
Yeah.
You have a good liver. You can do that and you can gain or lose and it's okay. I don't. If I do something to put that 3% of a liver that I have that functions well at risk, it's a totally different story.
Yeah.
So it can be extremely overwhelming. And the ultimate goal is that balance, because when you balance what you put in, your body will literally eliminate the rest.
Sure.
When you're not balanced, you get calcium deposits, and that's where you get the calcification and arthritis and tumors and cysts and cystic, right?
That. Yeah.
So ultimately that's the goal.
Yeah.
But when you start watching that one thing,
yeah, it's building a habit, like, I mean, if you,
it's quick.
If you can track your protein or whatever, and that's where the convenience of the label, for one, if that's the most basic thing that you need to follow, or and a little more in depth is like, we build everything on an online calorie counter. So if you wanted to log your food and you were eating 2 mighty meals a day and then 2 of your own meals a day, or however you had it split up, you can hit the button to add a meal of ours in there and then your meal in there, and then you have it all. That's awesome. Yeah, just schedule up for you.
Ted is out here just tearing it up. The first thing it says, what's the hardest part of catering in your opinion? What is your favorite dish to cook? And the questions are for actually both of you.
Cool.
But then he goes on to say, Mary, do you gain or lose without trying to gain or lose? Or
I do. Yeah. Very easily I will gain. I mean, part of it is I can gain or lose, 5 to 7 pounds just in water weight on any given day.
In a day, yeah. The fluctuations like that should not throw anybody for a loop.
No.
And that's where people freak out, and
they do.
Necessary.
I lost 3 pounds and now I'm upset. Well, I mean, granted, the most I think I've ever gained or lost in a day was 12 pounds. Because I have a condition that's different.
Yeah.
But the average person, you weigh yourself. If you do it consistently and weigh yourself every morning and every night, I have a program on my phone. I don't even look at it. I hit the Bluetooth. I step on the scale. My phone bings. I know it transferred over, and I don't even look at it.
Yeah. I
don't care, because I don't want it for the day to day. I want it for a long-term trend.
That's the only way to do it.
Right.
Yeah. You can totally, especially just in a given day, but if you're consistent with it in the mornings, or mostly the mornings, so you're on empty and you can get your weight in, that's the best way to track it. And you're not going to see crazy fluctuations over time. So
no. So listen, that's what's the hardest part about catering?
Oh yeah. I just, like I said before, the time management, I guess, and the process improvement, which is kind of what I feed on. And I guess it's the hardest part in itself too, where you have to plan what goes in the oven at what time and what needs to be portioned out at what time, and getting all of that whole system to play a role in actually getting the food out properly and safely and the way it needs to look.
See, that's the joke in my house, is that I would lose on any of those cooking competitions.
It's a wild ride.
Because I love cooking. I enjoy cooking. Like half the time I got my phone on, I'm listening to the station, one of the shows, like something. And the next thing you know, like whatever in the oven is done and my risotto's got 20 minutes. And I'm like, whatever. Like if I fed Gordon Ramsay cold chicken, he'd probably murder me, where my husband's like, are you going to be mad if I put this in the microwave?
Yeah. And I guess, there is some wiggle room there for me, because everything is
you're
cooked
prepared.
And
you're not.
It's portioned and then sits in the fridge before it goes out. Yeah. So it's not completely warm and ready. But it is, there's a whole process that goes into play. And we have a great time when we're in there. We turn on music and everybody's rocking out, and we all have our little sections and just go to town. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, do you do any catering, like weddings or parties?
Live catering?
Yeah. I've had a couple people ask that, and that just extra step of
live
food is just, it's not my
I've done it and it
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
People are awful. They're very unforgiving. And I've done it quite a few times. And I mean, half the people are thankful and they're complimentary
100%.
and they're like, you are awesome. Your food's so good. And I blah, 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 blah. And the other half are like, so these tomatoes aren't red enough.
Yeah.
It's, I'm going to choke you with one of them.
I'm that guy that proof God has a sense of humor. I was raised on a farm milking cows, allergic to dairy my entire life.
Oh, jeez.
And then I coached for 45 years. One of the kids want pizza parties.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'll forget when I'm officiating a wedding or, for whatever reason, I'll forget to tell them I have a dairy issue. And people love cooking with
Sure.
They do.
with dairy. And I'll get there like, oh, it's like this. And I'm like, I got a dairy thing. What I found out, you get the best food when you do that.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, let's put something together.
They make it
everything's
fresh.
I
prepared
get the
individually for
fresh
you,
filet
100%.
mignon and I get all of that. But it is, people do have issues.
Yeah.
That's-
So and you will run into that too, sure. So like if I were to prep like a big catering party, like I prefer to be conscious of all of that.
Right.
And like most of the meals that we make are and can be tweaked that way accordingly, but like just the live cooking thing and more so than anything, transporting the live food is like a whole nother piece.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah. So
it is a nightmare.
I pack my little mighty mobile with a refrigerator in and
I love everything about that.
yeah, and just drive around and get everything to be cold. So
so what's your favorite thing to cook?
favorite thing to cook. We're doing turkey Philly this week, which is probably one of my favorite meals that we do. It's again roasted veggies. We do roasted peppers and onions with just jasmine rice and turkey. Personally, like we were talking about palate before, I'm just a meathead at heart. Like I don't need much. You give me rice, meat, and a veggie, and I'm good. But so that's my personal favorite. When I know that's coming up, like I'll order or I'll buy extra peppers and onions.
For your own?
Oh yeah, 100%. I haven't technically grocery shopped for myself in the 7 years.
I was going to say, you probably don't have to.
Mighty Meals leftovers all day, every day for me. So
see, mine was always chicken and spinach stuffed manicotti.
okay.
It's a meal that my husband loves.
Yeah.
And I made it I've always been a foodie. It wasn't because I got sick that I had to learn to cook I've always been a foodie. I've always loved to cook. And when I took cooking classes and all that stuff was long before my liver failed. And inevitably, if I'm like, what do you want? We've been eating the same thing. What do you want to make? And he's like, make the manicotti. I'm like, why do you pick the thing that's like 3 pages long and takes 9 hours to make? But I do. I love making it. But lately, so it's no secret that I buy fresh from the farm. Created McHenry or fresh from the farm McHenry County, which we've now expanded into 4 counties and is growing. The website's in the process.
There you go.
So once I started, because I get my beef from Wanda Farm, and Joe Wanda's been on the show, so you should meet him because he's absolutely fabulous.
Sounds amazing.
I get my beef from Wanda Farm. I get my pork from Dykstra's Farm, which guinea hog is one of the best porks. It's just amazing to me. So I was making meatballs. I've made meatballs a bazillion times. And about, it had to have been about a year ago. Because it was when I came home with the first, Laura Dykstra did a butchering class. She's got another one coming up. She has a butcher. He's an awesome guy, super talented, comes in, teaches you how to take a pig down to primal cuts.
Okay.
So, and then from the primals, you actually cut it however you want. So they come and each station gets half a guinea hog, which they're smaller. Guinea hogs are, if you think of like those black potbelly pigs. Yeah. That's what they look like. They're smaller. They're not like the big, huge. So you get half a pig and they teach you how to take it down into these 5 primal cuts. And then from there, you get your lard and your leaflet and all this other stuff. So I help with that class. And the first time I came home and I mean, it was literally, we ground it that day. It's fresh, got chunks in it. Like you got to pick out a piece of hair here and there. And I made these meatballs and Ben and I are sitting, I'm like, I don't feel like pasta, so I made a lemon risotto. And he's like, this is literally probably top 2 of all of your dishes ever. So now these meatballs have become my favorite thing. I make a huge batch of them every time. They're super simple. It's like 6 ingredients. And now that has become
that sparked. I mean, I do this. So something that hadn't been available before, but now is, because speaking of butchers, I work with Orchard Meats in Cary.
Yeah.
And so he does a bunch of fresh ground stuff for me, and he makes a couple specialty sausages for me. And we've created this like chicken. We've done chicken sausage and chicken meatballs, and both have become like fan favorites through all of our clients. So playing around with those two ingredients and mixing and matching with different sauces and spices and all of that has been pretty intense.
See, that's the fun part. It's never just a dish. It's always once you discover one thing and go, holy crap, I would have never thought that. Like, I love herbes de Provence because it has lavender in it.
Yeah.
And now it's one of my go-to spices.
Sure.
So what is
Ted is saying, Mary, can you send me a listing of the farms you use for different meats and where they're located to my email?
Absolutely.
You've got Ted's contact information?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So when the pandemic started, and the reason I created Fresh from the Farm in Henry County, and it was completely a side shoot. Obviously, I have to watch what I eat, and food has saved me. In 2015, I was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver and, 50-50 shot of surviving the year. And if I did survive that year, the next year I would probably be on a liver transplant list. And I had every side effect known to man. So I switched and told my doctor, I'm going to try it my way. And he laughed, literally. And said, okay, but you're going to understand. We'll find a balance of meds that work for you, but whatever. And lo and behold, after 16 months, I was off all of my medication. And he says, I'm the poster child for liver disease because, 40 years in the business, he doesn't have anybody with advanced cirrhosis that isn't on medication.
That's amazing.
So now you fast forward from 2015 and in 2019, my immune system ate a hole in my spine. So I have a lesion on my spine. So I also have transverse myelitis, which is essentially the same thing as MS, only it happened once. So my body's not creating more lesions. It just has one. So I have an inflammatory issue as well. But when the pandemic started and I'm still posting pictures of food. They're going, where are you getting eggs? Like Sam's Club, their meat counter, I talked to the meat manager. He's like, we're getting shipments 3 times a day because people were hoarding.
Yeah.
So I was like, I went to the farm.
Yeah.
So I created Fresh from the Farm in Henry County, sent a message to the 2 or 3 farms that I knew at the time, because I'm not even legally allowed to own a chicken. I mean, I live in Foxborough Grove. This ain't like if I certified it a therapy chicken, I could have a chicken.
There you go.
So I created this and said, I can't do this. I got 80 messages in a day for eggs. And at first I'm like, so where do you live? I know someone over there. Where do you live? And I'm like, I can't do this. Created a group, messaged them, and it blew up to 5,000 members in 3 days.
That's incredible. I mean, when there's a market for it, there's a market for it.
Right. So it brings people to the farmers because where we're at here in Northern Illinois is a farming community. There's 800 registered farms in McHenry County alone. So I'm in the process of creating a website that will actually, to Ted's question, direct people to those farms and what they sell. Because the thing about farmers, there's a few of them that are big enough and are lucky enough to either have a family member or the financing to pay for websites and all of this stuff. Tom's Farm and Hefzibah does farm tours. They're a little bigger. Stotty's, Richardson's, they're bigger, so they have the capability of getting out there. Most farmers are up at 3:30 in the morning. They shove some food in their face. They go out and do their chores. They come back in and do whatever's needed for their family. As soon as the kids are off to school, if they go to school, then they're back out on the farm. Yeah. So people are messaging me going, I messaged them and it's like, they're not getting back. Yeah. They'll message you at 11 o'clock at night if they have a chance before they go to bed.
After milking the cows and everything else.
I grew up in that lifestyle.
Right. Yeah. So that's to help people find these farmers.
My college roommate is a dairy farmer, so I go visit him a decent amount. And
do you like raw milk?
I do.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I do. It's one of the best things.
It's like a milkshake.
It is.
We raised 150 hogs every year, over 200 chickens every year, and
that's
then
a serious
cows and stuff. So my job every Saturday morning was taking all the eggs we've collected all week and washing all them and boxing them up in 30 dozen boxes to take to the grocery store.
Yeah.
But people would always just stop by. We didn't have a sign out or anything. People just knew.
Yeah.
They'd pull up and mom would have their gallon of milk or whatever ready for them. So
no, I make it a point to stay in contact with him to get a decent amount of eggs, milk, meat on occasion. So
and then I don't eat dairy. And I'm always the advocate that, I mean, I do eat dairy because I'm a self-proclaimed cheese slut. I'm not. And well, people always say, like, you don't have to make your meals so low sodium. And I do, because I love cheese and I want to be able to put 9 pounds of cheddar cheese on it.
It's the 80-20 rule, like we talked about earlier.
100%. 80% cheese, 20% healthy vegetables.
That's one way to do it.
So, but like when Ted asked me about the farmers, there are so many amazing farmers, and I try to spread it because now I know so many of them.
And it's helped you so much. So
and it's not, I mean, it's not that I use Wanda Farm because it's so much better. It just happens to be the relationship that I've established, and the pricing's great, and he delivers, and it's amazing, and it just is. But I still spread the love between a lot of different farms.
Yeah.
Well, Mary, you're working on the website right now.
Yep.
When do you think it's going to be up?
It should be up by Thanksgiving.
By Thanksgiving. How can someone get a hold of you between now and then to if they're listening to the show and they want to find out more?
They can go straight through it. Almost all of the farmers are in Fresh from the Farm, McHenry County, the Facebook page. There's over 7,000 members. There are a few farms that are outside of the county. We just recently branched out into Winnebago, Boone, and Lake counties. It's growing, but because at the moment it's me and my one amazing admin, Nicole, I mean, I have an outside life, so it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I don't really do anything at this moment, and I'm not a web designer.
Sure.
So
yeah, I don't.
I'm not good at that part.
I was talking to somebody the other day about like hours and work and all of that, and it's like there is no tracking hours.
No.
It's just when the meals are done and the menu's out, and that's just what it is. And like, there's some balance to that, obviously, but yeah, that's been a weird shift in like coming from the quote unquote corporate world.
It is. It's not a 9 to 5.
No,
it is not especially when you're dealing with food and people. It's never a 9 to 5.
But it has its perks too. So.
Well, that's where I'm kind of excited, because I've been thinking about this since I first met you, and I've had so many people approach me and want my food, and I share my food on a regular basis, and
you gotta come to the kitchen.
You're the first person that I've come across that I think that actual the sharing of cooking would work, and to be able to have people. I love when people taste my food and they're surprisingly shocked. And when I used to be the general manager at the Office Max in Crystal Lake, and I would reward my crew every quarter by cooking, regardless of whether we made numbers, didn't make numbers. My thing was, I'm glad that you come to work every day and you give your all for me as a boss.
For sure.
So, those of you that rocked it, we give awards and did whatever, but I cooked every time. People would always ask me, so you cook regular food for them? I said, I'm not going to spend all day in a kitchen
for them
cooking chili or beefs or what. We did a taco bar one time. We did fajitas and all it, like huge spread. I'm going to spend all day cooking for you guys, and then I can't eat it.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't going to happen.
No,
you're eating my food, and they're going, wait a minute. So, like, this doesn't have salt in it?
What was the food competition we had that I was judging? Tamales.
That was my first time making tamales.
They were my favorite tamale.
Yeah.
There were 4 other, and 2 of them were store-bought. They snuck in a couple store-boughts.
They were retsrants or whatever.
They were restaurants, local restaurants, and their tamales.
That's awesome.
And Mary came in with a
pork
tamale.
Yeah.
Tamale. Give me, but it was perfect.
Yeah.
Those things are a lot of
That's
work.
The same. I mean, the 3 people that I have helping me out, like, they take home leftovers too, and like, they're not necessarily like diet people or looking to eat healthy or anything like that, and they enjoy it just as well. So like, you can make it work and get those people to eat a little better and still enjoy what they're eating.
Well, that's what's funny is, and that's why I said before, even if you're watching your sugars or your salts, your calories or whatever, surprisingly, when you start eating proper portion sizes and literally just real food, and that's it that alone is a huge win.
Yeah.
And you go to a restaurant, when I say make a better choice, and you look at things, and so yesterday I went to lunch with someone. I'm looking at these salad options, and one of them has like candied something or other, pecans and bacon, and I'm going, so everything that you've added in this salad literally just destroyed it with sugar upon sugar upon sugar with a raspberry sugary vinaigrette. It's a sugar salad.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get and eat the wraps. And that's the thing that always makes me aggravated is a lot of times the things that look healthy are the most deceptively unhealthy.
The sauces. Or the
Right. And the first time I went grocery shopping after I was sick, and it was extremely overwhelming. And I'm thinking I'm doing good. And this is like the third shopping trip, because the first one I literally ended up bawling my eyes out in the bathroom and turned around and went home. Because you're looking, you're like, okay, this has salt and this has salt, and it's a nightmare.
Can't do it.
Granted, I was super sick at that time, but all of a sudden, you know, the one time I had a successful shopping trip, kind of had it under control, and this lady walks by me, and I wanted to cry for her because she's extremely heavy set, and everything in her cart screams, I think I know what I'm doing, and this is all healthy stuff. Like the little heart symbol is on everything, all the soups.
Yeah.
And I'm going, hey, that can of soup is 2 servings. I know there's no way on God's green earth that you're splitting that can in half and eating half a can of soup.
The serving size is big. And that's like...
Well, let's go into that. A lot of the restaurants we go into, their serving portions
are huge.
What happens when you eat too much food? Well,
if it's balanced and you have normal activity, you don't necessarily have to exercise. Like you're not a bodybuilder, but if you have normal, consistent activity through movement throughout the day, and you have a balanced diet, if you consume too many calories calorically or too much sugar, too much fat, your body is designed to eliminate those things and process them. The problem is nobody eats that balance.
That's right. Yeah, and you gain weight at the end of the day. That's it. And so that's where like you get a meal looking at.
We're down to 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
Cool.
Remember what you said earlier? Like,
Yeah.
How am I going to fill it this time?
Yeah, it is. No, but you get a meal like that's pre-portioned or whatever. Like from us, you have an idea when you go to those restaurants. Like, okay, it should be like a handful of protein and a fistful of carbs, and a giant serving of veggies, hopefully, or something like that. And if you can tweak your ordering accordingly, like you'll be much better off.
The funny thing is, though, is you don't.
You don't usually.
So, Denise, hey, it wasn't peas, so back off, Peanut Gallery. Denise is a good friend of mine. She's one of the first people that was my sounding board and crying platform when I was first diagnosed with liver disease. So the thing is, though, is when you find yourself on a plan like yours, and on a regular basis, you're eating proper portions, you can't fit the ginormous portions anymore.
That's another good point. Yeah.
It's the turkey dinner syndrome where if you eat what you're supposed to eat all the time, and now you sit down to this enormous meal, you can't eat it.
Yeah, your body's not going to take it.
And then you're the one sitting here going, something must be wrong. Like I can't finish it. Nothing's wrong. You just
your
start eating more. Right.
Properly.
You're doing what you're supposed to do.
100%.
So it's easy. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Denise lost 40 pounds.
That is awesome.
I found him, Denise. Thank you very much.
Denise, can I correct me if I'm wrong? Because I always say it wrong. Pulmonary heart.
That's said right.
So, well, there's a lot of different heart conditions and heart disease. She has a rare one that takes a lot of people's lives. And she helps a lot of people through their illnesses. Yeah, pulmonary arterial hypertension.
Okay.
It's not a lot. I mean, I say I have liver disease. She's a trooper. That girl,
that's a heavy duty
she
one.
Has a port in, and I like.
That's great.
My hat's off to her. Right,
for sure.
Right, so. Right. So, and she makes fun of me because I love peas. So anytime I make something with peas, she's like, "What the hell is with these peas? You're ruining all your meals." Like, whatever. I like peas.
Last minute, guys.
So, my Wow, the butt is off. Mine says 2 minutes, buddy.
The butts are actually live time.
I know. Well, see, now I got a minute. See, a minute on radio time,
And
for
if
those of you who
keep
don't
talking,
know,
you're
is
gonna
like
blow your own
9,000 years. So anyways,
But I'm
how
on
do
the
we find
keyboard.
you?
Yeah, mymightymeals.com, Facebook, Instagram, just at My Mighty Meals. And yeah, we'll love to help. Freshly prepared meals weekly. Got to come to the kitchen. I do that too. So we do a kitchen rentals.
Oh, nice.
If anything, you guys got small
Kitchen
businesses
tours.
out there that need food prep areas, we can do that too. So
Awesome.
check us out.
So thank you, everybody, as always. Like us on Facebook and all of our platforms. Please, please, please subscribe to 216 The Net YouTube channel. The more subscribers that we have, the more luxuries we have. And as always, we have a 4-week break, so we will not be back for 4 weeks until our next series. So watch for updates on that.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks for being here, guys. This is Coach Pop on the board. It's time to get off the bench and get back in the game.
Love it.